Hello and welcome to another episode of Breaking Mayberry, the only podcast guaranteed to renew your sex life and regrow your hair. I'm one of your hosts, I'm Marty Schneider.
I'm the other host, I'm Dan Ludwig. Good, solid intro, as far as they go.
Thank you. I'm very happy that every time I get a good one of these, you congratulate me.
Yeah.
You know, as if I haven't done it 103 times before.
The success rate is shockingly low.
With us today, we have a special guest. I'm really excited about this one. If you don't know her by name, you might know her by tweet. The wonderful and talented Sophia Benoit, author, comedian, sex and love columnist for GQ, Bustle, other places, on Twitter, at @OneFollowerNoDad. And you've almost certainly seen one of her tweets pop up. Probably screenshotted, not on Twitter, just appearing on like your Instagram feed. Maybe with her handle attached, maybe not. Sophia, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
You want to take a quick second to tell our listeners, if they don't know who you are, what you do, who you are, besides all the words I just said?
Sure, that covers a lot of it. I write sex and relationships advice and columns and interviews for a lot of places, including GQ and Bustle mostly. I wrote a book last year called Well, This Is Exhausting. And this year it's coming out in paperback. So that's kind of the big things, the big job life things.
What's the gist of Well, This Is Exhausting?
So it's a memoir in essays that's comedic and also has a lot of bad words in it, which is, I just say only because a lot of the bad reviews are that it's very crass. So I'm just putting it out there. If the C word upsets you, don't go into this book.
That's funny. Those are a lot of our bad reviews too, actually.
Yeah.
Including and not limited to reviews from my own father.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Who taught me how to swear. I've had I learned it from watching you, Dad moment.
If my kids didn't swear, I would be so upset. I would be with the reverse. I feel like
sure.
if I don't have kids, but if they did.
You'd have some like kind of freaky Children of the Corn children.
Yes, like Utah children or something. Like
yeah. Hello, father. Hello, mother.
Yeah, exactly. It is very like creepy doll child.
Yeah, God.
Sorry, my step-siblings grew up not being allowed to cuss, and like now as adults they don't really do it ever, and it's so strange. They sound like they're at church or like a piano recital.
Don't trust it. Don't trust it.
No.
I don't trust an adult that doesn't swear. Or at the very least, I don't trust an adult that makes a real big deal out of not swearing. You know who made a real big deal out of not swearing? Bill Cosby.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Look where we are now.
Just saying. Anyone I've ever known that was just like, I don't like those language, don't swear in front of me, just always turned out to be a weird creep.
Yeah, it's like the dad from Seventh Heaven, and then everyone found out he was like a pedophile, and it's like, yeah, well, we all knew.
Yeah. So, I don't know, the lesson here, swear more?
Yeah,
Swear
or
more.
don't trust people who don't swear. Keep like a
Correct.
good radius away from them.
Before we get into this, listeners, you may be wondering why you suddenly hear a husky, raspy, sexy voice coming from my co-host here. Sounded like Kathleen Turner over there. That's because my wonderful idiot friend blew his voice out at a monster truck rally last weekend.
Oh.
Yeah, through a combination, I had like actual legitimate illness that was like fine, like within acceptable spring cold levels. And then, I did the medically advisable thing of going to a monster truck rally, drinking a bunch of really cheap beer, and screaming at the top of my lungs. Not the top of my lungs, like reasonable. There were kids around. But, yeah, so...
There were also monster trucks around,
Yes.
my dude! It's okay if you did the top of your lungs.
There were... We started walking in, and the amount of people that were there with kids, we were like, are we basically going to a Disney on Ice? Like, are we absolute freaks for doing this?
No, that's great. Honestly, also Disney on Ice is probably great. I haven't been in a while, but like the Harlem Globetrotters are great. I've been to like a bunch of demolition derbies where it's like mostly kids. They're great. Sorry, kids know what's up.
Yeah, man. Enjoy it. That's family entertainment at its finest, my man. Like,
basically,
it's fun for all ages.
It was us and a bunch of really cool parents, like parents that were raising kick-ass kids.
Right, those kids swear.
Yeah.
Yes, that kid is like always getting in trouble for saying fuckhead at school or something.
Each one of those kids was going to school the next day with a expletive-laden story. Like, they were like, and then the thing did 3 fucking flips. They were like, I have clout on the playground for weeks based off of this.
Totally.
So, let's get into this episode. I'll explain why we got Sophia in particular for this episode in just a second. But before we get into it, Sophia, before this, what, if any, knowledge of the Andy Griffith Show did you have? Like, where did it occupy space in?
I have seen other episodes before. My father is fully obsessed with recreating his childhood in his own kids' lives, and he's old. He's like an old parent. So I cannot tell you how much Gomer Pyle I've watched, which is the spinoff starring Gomer. I assume you know that. I hope your audience knows that, because we're all watching it so much. So I've watched a ton of Gomer Pyle, like more than any other 29-year-old on the planet. And I've seen a fair amount of Andy Griffith stuff. I've also seen just about every other TV show from that time period, because there were like 4 total. So the context, I have like a lot of it, but it's all from like obligatory watches with my family where everyone was like, please, can we stop? And my dad was like, no, this is the only TV we watch.
All right, cool. Sophia bringing some daddy issues into this one.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
1 follower, no dad.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. He's alive. He's fine.
Does he follow you on Twitter?
He says he doesn't, and he's never confirmed that he does, but occasionally I feel like he'll bring up things where I'm like, that's interesting.
All right. Okay.
He's like an avatar of a clown that's following you or something.
100%.
Yeah.
He like thinks he'd be good at Twitter too, so he occasionally tells me that he would be, and I'm like, I think you better not.
All right. So today's episode is season 4, episode 30. Barney and Thelma Lou.
Yeah.
That's actually that raspberry. The fart noise is actually in the episode title. Barney and Thelma Lou fit. PHFFTT.
I like that they did both the PH and the F. They were like, we're not going to necessarily decide whether it's phonetic or not. Like, we'll make a decision later. And then they picked both.
I kind of wish they just done Barney and Thelma Lou parentheses fart noise. I feel like that would have
That would have been nicer.
Yeah.
According to the ultra-reliable Mayberry Wiki, the title of this episode is most likely a reference to the 1954 romantic comedy film starring Judy Holliday, Jack Lemmon, Jack Carson, and Kim Novak. So first off, Jack Lemmon and Kim Novak,
that's a
movie,
huge cast.
That's a huge cast.
Jesus Christ.
And they named the movie... Also, it's got to be really great listening to this podcast and having me spinning in your ear. I apologize, listeners. Why would you name your movie a sound effect? How do you buy tickets to that?
I have to see this film, and I actually just looked up the poster of it. Has like a woman with the top half of PJs and the man with the bottom half of PJs, and she's holding a rolling pin, and I think she wants to beat him, which I think is beautiful. Why this was like the meet cute for every movie at that time period, is that like a woman wanted the top half of PJs and a man wanted the bottom half of PJs. That was in like everything.
That, you know what? That's even mentioned in The Holiday when they explain what a meet cute is.
It is. Yeah. And I've seen it in a Doris Day film. I can't remember which one. But they literally have it. I want to say it's Pajama Game, but maybe I'm just making that up because of the name.
I mean, sure, it would make sense, though, wouldn't it?
The name makes sense. Yes. That was romance back then.
Barney and Thelma Lou Fit airs May 4th, 1964, written by Bill Idelson and Sam Bobrick, who I'm not going to look up what else they've done on this show. We've seen them before. Directed by Kobe Ruskin. And here is your 1-sentence summary from Wikipedia. Feeling that Barney takes her for granted, Thelma Lou starts dating Gomer to purposefully make Barney jealous. Yeah, so this is an episode about a bunch of 40, 45-year-olds pulling some junior high games. Y'all know how much I love that. And that's why I'm happy we got a certified sex and relationship columnist on to weigh in on this. Quick thought.
This is a reoccurring thing where we have experts on to basically do the coloring book version of their field. Like here, solve these playground romance antics. Like, do the most dumbed down version of your thing.
But that's because this is a simple world. The Andy Griffith Show was like, what if we made like a simple ethno state where there's no problems?
Yeah,
like, that's the show. That is the whole show.
What if we created a simple ethno state where there are no problems and also no black people?
Yeah,
like,
yeah, exactly. Like, they loved that. Like, everyone's grandma was like, yes, I would love a comforting show where I don't have to see anyone ugly and anyone not white.
You have to see
there's
some ugly people.
There are some ugly people, but like, no one like their life isn't crumbling up. I mean, like, the saddest person in the show is like a guy with a job and a pickup truck who's like a little dumb. Like, okay,
yeah,
that's
true.
fine, you know?
He is basically an indentured servant living in a shed behind a gas station.
But that was sweet and romantic then.
That was, yeah,
Right.
that
You know
was
what I'm saying?
charming.
Like,
that was, yeah.
They didn't get into the sadness of any of that. Also, even this episode, there's like a huge amount of sadness. Like, you could replay this episode and make it very dramatic and depressing, but instead it's like twee and cute.
I love it when our guests get the concept of the show. You were like, oh yeah, I see this Mayberry. Let's break it.
I mean, Mayberry sucks shit. Sorry,
Yeah.
but it sucks shit.
Oh yeah, no, we hate this. Like,
we're not fans.
We should have made that clear. I fucking hate this show so much at this point. We've done 100 episodes of this bullshit. I hate the Andy Griffith Show with a seething passion at this point.
Mostly we hate what it did to your grandma, my grandma, and like people who adopt this. Let's get into the episode. First off, Sophia, just from this episode alone, how do you feel about Barney and Thelma Lou's relationship?
In a word, livid, I would say. I just are like, if Thelma were Lou were my friend, I swear to God, I would be getting drinks with her every weekend, and I'd be like, girlfriend, we have to talk. Like, seriously, sit down, and we're making a pact, and every time that you talk about this man, you take a shot. Like, we're getting you to the point where you're over him. Like, I would be planning girls' trips. I'd be planning like nights. Like, we would be like, we need to move on from this man in any way possible. And also, I'm coming at this with the context of like, I'm in my 20s, and it would be sad if what was happening to Thelma Lou, or what she's engaging in, was happening in her 20s. But also, okay, so she's apparently in her 40s, it seems like. But on top of that, she's in her 40s in 1964, which is like in your 90s, like now. Like, that's insane. She's insane.
So first off, I just realized we finally have the power to make hashtag justice for Thelma Lou a thing. Sophia, I'm relying on you.
We're
for
not
that.
going to try to co-opt your Twitter like that.
No, it's time. Thelma Lou deserves so much better.
Thelma Lou deserves way better. So let's talk about the opening scene here, because I'm about to provide some context for you that's going to make you even angrier. So,
thank God.
So the opening scene of this, Thelma Lou and Barney are walking home from a date. They have gone and seen a movie, whatever, blah, 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 and they stop outside of a furniture store. This has actually been addressed and come up on the show before. After the movie's over, you have nothing to do but stare at a store window. Just go and look at the store windows and just see what's up. Barney and Thelma Lou look at some of the furniture, and they start talking about, like, just fantasizing. Just saying, oh, yeah, if we had that, this is where it would go. This would go in the living room. And Barney's like, I don't like that frilly stuff. I want that big, masculine leather chair because I'm a big, manly man. Don Knotts starts talking about his den like he's Gaston / Ron Burgundy. How he wants it to smell like leather-bound books, etc., etc. And then they sit there and go, but there's like a moment where they realize, we're getting too far into this.
I do really like that they start fantasizing about having furniture together, and he immediately goes like, but also I want to have a space in the house where I isolate from you on a daily basis. So she's like, basically they're like, what if we had a house together? Well, I want it to be an unhealthy situation.
And he specifies that it's not just her. He's like, no women in my den ever. Like, that's his first requirement for the den. Like, his most important requirement for the den is no women ever. Which, like, my dude, what?
They haven't even figured out, like, the bedroom or any other. This hypothetical space has a living room and a den that no women are allowed in.
I don't even know if this man has touched a titty. Like, I don't even know. And he's already like, no women allowed in my home, which, like, dude, please. No women are like banging down the door to get in your den. Yeah. Who do you think wants to hang out in your den? What women in this scenario are like, oh God, if I could only get in Barney's den.
If I could only smell pipe tobacco and leather. God, I'm a junkie fiending for a hit.
I have nothing better to do with my extremely busy 1964 life where the world is changing so rapidly because the president just got shot and the fucking 1950s are over and the 60s are actually starting and now the entire world order's changing and maybe I have to get a job. No, I want to be in Barney's den. Like, what?
Hang on, Sophia, because yes, it is 1964 in canon. It is 1964, but it's Mayberry, so everything's the Great Depression, basically. Like,
we're 30s, in this 60s. Weird time warp where simultaneously Vietnam and the Great Depression are happening. It's really weird. This is like some weird back-in-time Narnia shit.
How long do you think Barney and Thelma Lou have been dating at this point?
Gun to my head, I'm saying they've been dating 3 years.
Damn, nailed it.
Yeah, right on the money.
Okay, so they've been dating 3 years at this point. However, I don't know what this is in show time, but in, like, I guess real world time, he just said the L word 2 episodes ago.
Oh.
Like, he just got around to saying it. And I think this is implying that they just became exclusive. And I do want to point out, this is the context I want to give you. He very specifically did not say, I love you. He said, and I quote, "You're the only girl I really love. You're the only girl I love." And there's a important distinction between I love you and you're the only girl I love. One of those is, yeah, let's build a life together. The other is, I'm still gonna fuck around on you.
Yeah.
But they don't mean shit.
There's also the interesting use of girl for a 45-year-old woman. There's
45-year-old woman.
Like, I mean, it's weird no matter what when adult men are saying that. I mean, it's fine. I say girl all the time, but I'm not also like patronizing someone. But then there's also like the weirdness of the fact that like he seems to genuinely detest women and their like company on every level. And so, my dude, like, I know this isn't possible in Mayberry, but like I would love for if he had just gotten to like kiss a dude. Like, kiss a dude. Like, I know you can't, but, like, come on. You hate women.
Kind of, yeah.
He, like, genuinely doesn't... it's not even that he hates women in, like, the total, like, misogyny, like, aggression level. He, like, genuinely just doesn't seem to enjoy being around
care for
women.
them. Like,
that's, like, just kind of the general background radiation of this whole thing, is they just genuinely, like, seem to want women to be as far away from them as possible, and begrudgingly be like, all right, but I guess you're okay, so I'll allow you near me.
It's not that much of a weird, like, headcanon skip to look at the way that Barney treats his girlfriend and also talk about how Andy at no point in time has any romantic tension with any of his girlfriends. Andy straight up does not, like, is bored, doesn't care about his girlfriend at all. They just disappear.
Wait, he's not married?
No.
Oh,
so
no,
Okay. So
presumably a widower.
And
presumably.
The show kept having to hire and then immediately fire love interests because Andy Griffith, the actor, has no romantic chemistry with any of them.
I have to get to the bottom of this. This is going to consume my life.
I've described it as Japanese businessmen etiquette, where they're like, how are you doing today? Oh, I'm very well. Like very formal and rigid. And they just kept being like, well, it must be this woman. We've gone through 4 actresses, but it's gotta be her.
Sophia's like Googling
I'm Googling.
Andy Barney slash fic right now.
No, I'm Googling so much. I have to get to the bottom of this because there's just really...
Oh, ask us anything. It's been 100 episodes.
I have so many questions. But one thing that like really stood out that like connects to this is that in this like seeped in hatred of women, like the only female role is Thelma Lou in this episode. And in a larger sense, like the entire show is helmed by and about men and young boys. Like it's like so male, so male, which is its own thing. But then even this woman, like you can tell a man wrote her because she is the ultimate chill girl before chill girls were even a thing. Like they literally like have
she
Gomer
will put up with anything.
Yeah.
But they even in today's language, it wasn't even just like you're a little housewife and you do your little housewife things. It wasn't even like that kind of level of chill girl. It was like you're okay if he doesn't want to get married. And Gomer talks about how he can talk to her like he talks to men because she's different than other women. Like it was so like male version of what they think women want to be. It was bizarre. I was like, I can't believe this is such an old trope that like this is the chill guys girl. It was so weird.
We keep waiting for like what her threshold will be, and at this point I'm like, he could set her on fire and she would be like, all right, I see your point of view on it. I was wearing a lot of hairspray and you did need to show me that. Like, I don't think there's any line that he could cross that she wouldn't forgive him for. It's crazy.
Last little bit of context for this is, I think it's not even really clear, but I think Barney just now stopped trying to cheat on her. Like,
right.
Andy even calls attention to it for the first time in this entire series. Says, you've come close a few times with that woman Juanita Beasley down at the diner. He has been trying to get with Juanita for years. Like, he's serially cheating on his girlfriend, and that's no one's ever called it. No one's ever been like, hey, this is not a good thing in our wholesome family values show. It's also very funny. So that's the context. He maybe just now stopped actively cheating on her. That's what's going on. So they are talking about buying furniture together, and they go, you know what? Well, we can hold off. Like, there's no problem there. Cut to the next day. They're hanging out at the jail. Barney and Andy have a conversation about the movie. Barney is very upset about this movie. He says it's not realistic. He can't believe that this wonderful girl, this wonderful woman in this movie got with this like shaggy-haired guy.
Which, like, pause. It's the 60s. Like,
yes.
that was 90% of what was happening. Fucking insane.
This whole show, every single thing that they were like trying to comment on was like the smallest deal in the entire world. If your friend was like, I'm going to write a show about this, you'd be like, oh, no, that's a bad idea. The stakes are nothing.
The stakes are at any given moment completely resolvable. Like, you could walk into anything that any minute in this episode, and just with a brief 5-second conversation, just everything's fine.
They've kind of written themselves into a corner. They've written themselves into a spot where, like, they can't have any stakes whatsoever, because if Mayberry is this idyllic place where there are no real problems, then they're in this scenario where basically they can't do anything. Like, you can't have stakes worse than somebody might be slightly inconvenienced. And it's so weird how far out of the way they go to avoid that someone might be inconvenienced. Speaking of inconvenience, Thelma Lou calls. She calls the station and asks for a ride to Mount Pilot. She needs a ride to the next town. And Barney can't take her. Barney can't drive her, and they can't take the squad car because the squad car is in the shop. Gomer walks in, says, hey, the squad car is still in the shop, but if you need a ride or Thelma Lou needs a ride, I'll be happy to take you. Barney's like, yeah, you want to do that? Thelma Lou, you want to ride with Barney, or you want to ride with Gomer? Cool. Problem solved. Bye. Click. And so Gomer, being the nice guy that he is, offers to take Thelma Lou. Andy the reasonable one here, Andy makes a joke like, hey, better be careful. You don't want to send Thelma Lou off with Gomer. He might sweep her away, which is absolutely a dig on Gomer. And I've said this before. I'm sick of everyone in this show treating Gomer like shit.
That was the only joke, though, at the time. Like, literally, that was the funniest thing you could... Like, my grandma can't imagine anything funnier than they're just, like, being a little bit of a dumb guy that lives in a town. Like, that is the peak of comedy to that generation. Like, they're like, oh, there's that one guy who's always kind of messing up. That's it for them. Like, that, for someone who's 90 and above, that's...
What if a guy had suboptimal hand-eye coordination? That is like... Oh, boy. Yeah.
If he drops the ladder, if he's carrying too much stuff at one time...
Oh, man.
Watch out. Also, I want to say it's very odd because there's two things. One, Barney does seem to be able to actually drive her, but doesn't want to at one point.
Doesn't want to.
Yes.
And on top of that, then it seems like Andy knows what's going on and is like, I can tell that you're taking Thelma Lou for granted, and I'm going to make this comment about how anyone could, sleep with, look at Thelma Lou, that like this isn't as secure as you think. And he like orchestrates this, or semi-orchestrates some of the like tension here.
You could definitely read it as him like puppet mastering all of this shit happening.
But it doesn't seem like he's actually that kind of character. So it seemed very odd to me. I was like, this seems like a little above what the rest of the show is. That he's like puppet mastering this. I don't know.
He has been known to puppet master in the past, but like in this season especially, he seems checked out. It's called the Andy Griffith Show, but like he barely does anything or has any agency in his own show. But it's also sort of getting to like the later seasons of King of the Hill where they ramp up the crazy on everybody so that Hank can be more serious and more of the straight man. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like he's just being a dick. I feel like we're all giving Andy way too much credit. I don't think he's thinking that much into this. He's just being a dick.
There's also one element. Andy suggests that they get her a cab there, and Barney freaks out and goes like, "That's expensive." Like he covers the phone and goes like, why would you say that? That's so expensive." Basically stiff arms a way for her to get to the dentist.
He is such a little cheapskate with his girlfriend, and I'm not one of those people who thinks like men should pay. I think whatever, that's like its own toxic belief system. But if you can't like help your girlfriend out to get a cab, or if she can't get a cab, like why can't she get a cab? What's the money problem here in this town where I know you guys are making plenty of money? Because like you're sitting around doing paperwork as a cop, like you're fine. Like I don't know, it's bizarre. The whole
Dan just mentioned, I forgot it was a dentist appointment.
It's a dentist appointment.
It's a thing she has to go to. It's not like it's something frivolous. Like,
but I also, what was her plan originally? Because the dentist appointment gets changed. Its time gets changed. And I really want to know what her original plan to get to the dentist was. That's what I'm curious about. I need to get to the bottom of.
Hitchhiking was cool back then.
You're already putting more thought into this than either of our writers did. Gomer even offers. Gomer's even like, "Hey, you can come along, Barney, if you'd like if you want a chaperone or whatever. If you don't feel comfortable with this." Again, being the nicest, most considerate person he could possibly be, and Barney says the line that kicks off all of this, which is, "Nah, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Thelma Lou. There's a lot of things I might be worried about, but not this. I got that woman in my hip pocket."
He adopts what I can only describe as like high school bully posture. Like, like leaning over so far that he's borderline horizontal. Andy kind of does it too, where they just both lean back really far and just like sneer.
The lockers appeared behind them. Like they really have the tone of people smoking smoking cloves under the bleachers. It really comes across that way.
Jennifer, go out with you, nerd. Like it has that energy. She's my girl.
It's so weird because the entire show made him look so fragile, and this is a probably the incorrect word for it, but like it was very almost emasculating for what their version of masculine was at the time. And it made him look like an idiot. But then he feels so good about it. And I feel like the show even felt good about what they portrayed him as. And I was like,
this is our conundrum.
This is like a bizarre... I mean, I know we haven't even gotten to the conclusion yet, but it's just so weird. Every time that they tried to make him look cool, it made him look so embarrassing. I was like, this is...
You can never really tell. You can never really tell whose side the show is on.
Yes.
Because it starts off, you're like, look... Because most of the time you're like, oh, look at this wimpy little simp trying to be a big man. Like, we're clearly supposed to make fun of him. But then he wins in the end. He's vindicated in the end. The show at the conclusion is just like, yeah, but it's fine because he's Barney. Like, he's got main character armor. I think the show goes out of its way for it.
I think part of it, yes. And I couldn't tell. That's exactly it. Like, when he won at the end, I was like, is this show super, super, super self-aware? And is like, oh, people like this don't ever change. And like, ultimately, that's a little bit of the joke is that like life itself, when you're in a town like this or in life in general, is you never change and no one ever grows.
We've also almost thought
like,
that.
Also like a little Seinfeldian of like, no growth.
Yeah.
And so like, maybe there was like a tiny, like there was one person in the writer's room who's like, those people don't change or something. Or is it that they legitimately live in such a like male dominance poisoned mindset that they're like, ha ha ha, that guy, but of course he's not really gonna marry her. Like, which is it? What level of irony are you on with this ending?
It's like at the end of Looney Tunes, Elmer Fudd was fine. Like,
yes,
yeah.
Bizarre.
If you read it straightforward, it is darker than any episode of Always Sunny.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
So yeah, Gomer offers. Gomer is great. We've only got a few episodes left, and I'm so pro Gomer by this point. My feelings on this have gone up and down. How I feel about this character.
I would die for Gomer Pyle. Like, I'll say it. I would die for that man. Love him. Love what he's up to.
Only redeemable figure at this point.
I don't want to get into like himbo discourse because it's not 2019. But is Gomer Pyle a himbo?
This is going to be like way too much analysis, and it came to me so last second, so it's not even true, but I feel like Gomer Pyle is what America thinks it is, which is like sweet and stupid, and then Barney is what America actually is, which is like a sexist cop.
Yeah. Barney Fife is the face of American fascism, just because
exactly.
Like, just this like, bravado, but like ultimately very like ineffectual and limp-wristed.
Yes.
I'm losing my mind right now. Dan, you're fired. Sophia, this is your show now.
I just feel like that's like what America thought they were post like the 60s was like this sweet guy who has a good heart and works really hard, but like, you know, but that is not the case. You're Barney. You're fucking Barney. And every good country with oil is Thelma Lou.
This is so much better than the himbo discourse. All right, hell yeah, fuck yeah,
We're just gonna get into politics.
I love this so goddamn much.
It's just like an international relations podcast, really.
We'll just go through and just break down the analogy for each character.
India and Pakistan. Which character are they? I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Oh, which character is the Vietnam War? Which of these characters was Richard Nixon?
Exactly. That's what we need to get to.
We know which character is the Vietnam War. It's the lack of any 20-year-old men. There are no young men in Mayberry. There are occasionally young women, but there's just this weird disappearance. There are no people in their 20s in Mayberry.
Oh, yeah, it is
so weird.
It does factor into like sort of the creep's paradise that is this show, that all of the characters in this town are either 20-year-old women or 45-year-old men, and there is nothing in between.
I feel like watching this show and hearing about the Andy Griffith stuff, and then I did just read his Wikipedia page, the personal life section, my favorite section.
Sure,
the only good section.
Wikipedia,
like,
and then you go straight to personal life and then death.
Yes, exactly. It's like personal life, controversies, death. Like, I want to know where you stand on gun rights, and then that's it. No, I'm kidding. I mean, a little bit, but After reading his Wikipedia page, I have this like gut feeling that, and I'm going to say this and it's going to be very inappropriate of me, that Andy Griffith in real life just wasn't into women and just didn't know how to deal with that in real life.
We've been dancing around that for a while.
Thank you for saying it.
And I think that's his lot to deal with, but the fact that he like became really good friends with a bunch of men, including a little boy that played his son, that's a little odd.
Yeah.
Like, there's a whole section of his Wikipedia page that says friendship with Ron Howard, and I'm like, that's your son.
Yeah.
Like, it's your TV son. And that's, like, nice. Like, I'm not saying it's not nice, but I'm like, it's weird that, like, you have adopted kids, but no biological kids. You have a lot of wives. I feel like it's just giving me vibes of, like, and you have no chemistry with women. It's giving me vibes of, like, deep dissatisfaction with his real life. That's what I'm getting.
There were 2 semi-openly queer actors on the show, including Jim Nabors, who plays Gomer.
Yes.
And Frances Bavier, who plays Aunt B, who is not in this episode, and basically hasn't been in this season.
I did know about Jim Nabors. I didn't know about Aunt B, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like maybe he just was, that's the vibe he's giving off, or like almost like asexual vibes or something. I don't know.
He interacts, all romantic scenes that he has on the show are like somebody just handed him a live squid. He's just like, what am I supposed to do with this?
As a matter of fact, Sophia, I actually just read, because now I get weird recommendations that send me to MeTV articles about like how Andy, the actor himself, got involved and pushed and tried to push and put the kibosh on his and his girlfriend, and I guess in this case Helen, their kissing scene. Like, he tried to push and delay their kissing scene as much as possible, and would suggest, like, what if we had Dawn come in and interrupt it, under the guise of being old-fashioned, and wouldn't it be better if we just took it real slow? But, whoo, boy.
I could totally be wrong. He's just giving me vibes of, like, I don't really like women, and not in, like, again, like, there's, like, I don't like women in the, like, Frank Sinatra way, which is, like, I don't like women because I like fucking them too much, which is, like, okay, you know what? That's your vibe, is just horny. He seems like the antithesis of horny. Like, he seems to have no interest in women. And I could be totally wrong, but never met the guy, don't know.
Ordinarily, Sophia, whenever we have a woman or someone who dates men on this podcast, I usually ask, like, hey, is Andy Griffith hot? Because we've been trying to get out, like, consensus.
He is.
Okay,
definitive.
I'm not even a moment of hesitation.
No,
okay?
for sure.
Interesting.
Like, if that man could have one little twinkle in his eye of horniness, he would be doing great. But I just see him, like, listening to, like, I see him as an older man who finally realized he loves dudes, and he, like, goes to a nice little cowboy bar and has, like, a one-night stand that becomes, like, the night of his life. That's what I see for him. And that's just me. That's just saying, like, I think he could have, like, a great Thursday evening when he's, like, 59 years old that he will always think of.
What it was Moonlight, you know.
Yeah, I feel like it just, like, he could have had a nice time with a man. I don't know. But I think he's hot, like, for sure. For sure he's hot.
Didn't even hesitate.
Bonus round. Don Knotts. Yeah.
Who's, God, no. I wouldn't for $100,000.
We have gotten those answers flipped a couple of times.
That's so upsetting.
Don Knotts was definitely like the Pete Davidson of his day. Like,
that is such a good way to put it. He is a little bug-eyed sweetie. And, like, he's doing his best, I feel. No, absolutely not. Whoever said that flipped needs help.
Okay, but Sophia Benoit, one follower, no dad. Andy Griffith could get it.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay.
I just don't think he wants it, and
he definitely doesn't.
And maybe that makes him even hotter.
All right, so back to the
so
scene.
100% getting sued by the Andy Griffith estate if they ever figure out that we exist.
It's alleged. It's all alleged.
Alleged. Theoretically.
Satire. Parody. We're covered.
Sophia, how would you feel if any partner of yours said that they had you in their hip pocket?
I would feel like they probably had never met me because I have big bitch energy. So that would be very surprising. But I feel like also it's kind of surprising for Thelma Lou. I'd be mad.
Yes,
I'd be mad.
Yes.
Like, I would be, she should be furious.
So that's what happens in the next scene. Gomer is driving Thelma Lou to her appointment, making chit chat with her, asking her about her interests, like just having a conversation with her, which no one apparently has ever done. And he does mention, he's like, "Man, your boyfriend is so great. You know what he said about you? He said that he had you in his hip pocket. I wasn't worried about you." And then just keeps on driving.
I know I'm keeping us moving at a glacial pace, but that phrase doesn't really mean anything other than this is an abusive relationship, right? Or even not abusive, not an extremely bad relationship.
A bad relationship.
Yeah. The whole time I just kept thinking about that extremely like weird and squicky White Stripes song about Jack White has a song about keeping her in my pocket.
Ooh.
On their first album,
which
given the way that he has, that he works with his ex-wife or his partner, says a lot.
Says a lot.
Also,
I also just found out, because I can't stop Googling all of these people, that Don Knotts was a ladies' man. I just want to put it out there.
Yes.
Apparently he was getting laid nonstop. So maybe the other person was right. And
that, I'm telling you, that Pete Davidson analogy goes.
It does. He does kind of have, I see it.
The other people are just channeling like ancestral memories of like past generations that had wanted to get it in.
So yeah, they're driving, and Thelma Lou hears that hip pocket comment, and she just kind of like smolders a little bit, doesn't show any real like. I'm not gonna like judge Patty Lynn, the woman who plays Thelma Lou. I'm not gonna judge her performance, but I can't really read what she's feeling, but it ain't good.
So then she starts like realizing, I think, that if she has like some other interest, that then Barney's gonna get jealous. She's hoping. So she's like, who's available in this tiny little town? Gomer. And so he talks to, does he talk to Andy? Yeah, he talks to Andy about it.
So okay. What happens is Gomer meets them at the jail, mentions that Thelma Lou took him out for lunch and like paid for lunch to thank him for driving her. And after that, Barney gets pissy about that, and then immediately after that, he gets pissy that Thelma Lou bailed on a date.
Yes. So Thelma Lou is suddenly pulling away. They have a standing date on Tuesdays to watch that doctor show.
Just thriving relationship.
In
and
modern
eat fudge.
terminology.
Yeah.
Yeah, and eat fudge. In modern terminology, it's like she watched The Bachelor without him, or whatever.
And he's like very flipped out by the fact that she had a standing date with him on Tuesdays and then forgot, which it's like very obvious what's happening. I feel like, God bless her, but she's doing like the most classic thing on earth, which is just like, oh, you're pulling away? No, I'm pulling away. Not very healthy. Love where she's at, though. I love it.
And then the big moment is after canceling on their date, Andy and Barney leave, and Andy is being kind of a dick, like, hey, you never know. Looks like Gomer, he's kind of a shaggy-haired guy, huh? Just being a total asshole. They walk out the door, and what do they see? Thelma Lou and Gomer going to the movies together to see the same movie that I guess she saw with Barney. So they're going in there together. And this is where I feel like the ironic X is still X thing comes into place. Or like, if she's no longer pretending to date Gomer. She didn't know that Barney was going to walk out and see them at that point. Like, she had no way of knowing. Yes, she knows the proximity of the movie theater to the jail, but like, there's a lot that could have gone in there. So for her to be going to the movies with Gomer, hoping that Barney sees, it's not like they're in the same room. It's not like she's dancing with him there. At some point, you're just going on a date with Gomer.
I think she's just having a nice evening with a guy, because she's like, I can't fucking have a nice time with Barney because he sucks shit. So like, might as well have a nice evening with Gomer. Like, I feel like she was just like, I could stay home by myself, be sad, or I could go out and have a nice time with Gomer.
Like, the last person to treat me with basic human decency in the last 2 years.
Yes. And maybe the only person in this town capable of it.
Yeah.
For sure.
That is true. At nowhere is it explicitly stated by someone other than Andy Griffith that she's doing this to make Barney jealous, right? She doesn't say that.
No, I mean, no, but she jumps in when she hears, like, Gomer's plan.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, I think she was, but it's never outright said. By the way, quick side note, more for my theory that Gomer Pyle, as a quote-unquote dumb guy, is actually just what a 1960s writer's understanding of an autistic person was. Because...
Yeah, I could see that.
Because he doesn't understand metaphors. When Barney says, I've got her in my hip pocket, he goes, what?
Yeah.
Huh? And they have to explain that it's a figure of speech. And he goes, oh, okay. Like, this is a thing that's happened to him multiple times. So, yeah,
I just don't understand. Yeah, I'm not really sure what level the writers are on with him. Like, what?
It varies from episode to
yeah,
episode.
That's the same thing in Gomer Pyle. Like, sometimes he's very, very, very dumb, like, not understanding a thing that is, like, completely obvious. And sometimes he's, like, fine, but just involved in a misunderstanding.
He is, like Homer Simpson, as intelligent as the script needs him to be.
There have been times where we have been like, this man has the mind of a child.
Yes.
Yeah. There have been episodes where if Thelma Lou was doing what she did in this episode, it would be a federal crime.
Yeah.
It does concern me a little bit how everyone in the town treats him and what they ask him to do. It's there's some blurred lines.
Yeah.
So Gomer comes to Andy, and they talk about it, and Andy says, hey, you know what's going on right now, Gomer, right? You know that bitch is using you, pretty much.
Yes.
He says, you know that you're being played right now, right? She's just using you to make Barney jealous. And Gomer, like, takes the burden of this on himself. He says, oh, man, Barney shouldn't worry. You know, he doesn't need to worry about anything. I would never do anything to hurt Barney. And then he says a very weird line. Did y'all catch this? He doesn't need to worry. It's not that bad for fat people, but he doesn't need to worry. What?
Yes.
What the fuck does that mean?
That got past me.
I replayed that line 3 times to see if I had missed something that came before it, because it doesn't even make sense. Like, the like wording of it doesn't even make sense in making fun of fat people. Like, he says
I did the same.
Like the word, it literally seems like they like gave him a script that like cut off on one page and then picked up on another page, and they like, he says something like, it's like he doesn't need to worry, like fat people don't even need to worry or something weird. It's like, it doesn't, there's no way it makes any sense. It's not even a dig at fat people the way it's worded. If it was supposed to be, it was a bad job.
According to the comments in the ultra reliable Mayberry wiki, somebody says, I think they mean to say Gomer. They wrote, what did Homer mean when he told Andy it shouldn't matter so much for fat people, but not Barney? 2 years later, another commenter said, I think that worry causes people to not eat, thus losing weight. I mean, I don't know. That's the best guess.
That is like, you would have to have been living in that like weird 50s town for so long to put those two things together. Good for that person.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe.
Someone was like, they like meditated on that question for 2 years.
2 full years.
They sat under a waterfall and contemplated the meaning of human language to try to reach that conclusion, and that's the best they got.
It was such a weird line.
What could that mean?
It makes no sense. It was like, I genuinely kept going back and being like, what is this about fat people? I'm not even offended. I'm confused. I'm just confused. Like, that's... What?
Listeners, if you're the kind of psychopath that is watching the Andy Griffith show along with us, go watch this episode and tweet at us. Tweet at Break Mayberry, at One Follower No Dad. Tell us what the fuck you think is going on here.
Please explain it to me.
So Gomer gets it in his head, though, that he's going to play along super hard. He and Andy kind of talk about it, and Andy says, you know, well, if you really went with it, if a fella were to really go for it and like try to be steady with Thelma Lou, she would break her spell. She would break with that and jump right back to Barney. So
yeah, if the person actually caught feelings, basically.
Yeah. If you called her bluff. Again, puppet master maybe, or just saying shit that comes to his head.
Well, he basically looks him in the eyes and it's like, well, thank God you're not a real human being, because
Right.
otherwise this could potentially have blowback.
Right. He does say, like, it's a good thing Thelmalou chose you and not, like, a person with agency.
Yeah.
Or, like any threat. It's a good thing she picked the most sexually non-threatening person on the planet, you.
Yeah,
Gomer.
there was a lot of like calling him like a beta cuck happening, but like subtle.
Which is so weird because he's infinitely like manlier than Don Knotts. Infinitely.
Also, it's not even just manlier. Like, if you have to pick one person in that town to like make a life with, or even go on a single date with, like, I guess maybe single date Andy Griffith, because he's probably not going to leave me alone. Not going to do anything to me. He'll probably leave me alone, and he's
Sophia,
hot.
Let's just go ahead and get to
fuck,
where we're
marry,
going
kill.
Here. Fuck, marry, kill. Barney, Gomer, Andy.
First, I need to do a little propaganda. I think the game should be called Bed, Wed, and Dead. But that's just me. I've always thought that. Okay, so fuck, marry, kill. Obviously, I think the obvious choice is you fuck Andy for sure. Then you marry Gomer and you kill Barney.
That's the only answer.
I think that's the only answer. I think anyone who chooses something else is like maybe a sociopath.
I think you can marry Andy. Like, you'll be bored, but you'll be very well taken care of.
You'll be.
But then do you fuck Gomer? Like, fucking Gomer is weird. That's weird. Like, that's a weird choice.
That's true.
That's
true.
Strange. Like, I guess you could, and then killing Gomer is also awful.
Off the table. Off the table. You can't kill Gomer.
Because that's the thing. Imagine fucking Gomer and then, by the rules of the game, not returning his calls.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like, I'm assuming in marriage you're gonna fuck this person. Like, I've always assumed when you play fuck, marry, kill, when you marry, you're still fucking. So like, a lifetime of fucking Gomer is one thing, but when you like have a one night hot steamy hookup with Gomer, that's a no. That's a no for me.
And as a matter of fact, that's exactly what happens in this episode, kind of, because as part of the like erotic thriller game, that the cat and mouse game that they're playing with each other now, I'm just gonna skip to the end here. Thelmalou, fully aware of what Gomer is trying to do, plays into it very hard and kisses Gomer kind of on the chin, not even really on the lips. It was like the chin cheek area, but they
kind of in that little corner where cheek, chin, and neck meet.
Yeah,
like,
so she
not
kisses
hot,
him
basically.
Yeah, in the most non-sexual way imaginable. Barney sees this and he freaks out, and then Gomer freaks out. And as we just pointed out, you can't fuck Gomer and not return his calls, because Gomer's like, well, where I'm from, in backwoods, even more backwoods than this, I kiss a girl, you gotta get married now. So Gomer is, I think, fully on, like, convinced that they have to get married. So he's
so
ready
depressing.
to make an honest woman of her.
It's
like,
so sad, because I was like, this might be Gomer's only shot at marriage in his own mind. Like, this poor sweet man.
He does not want to.
It's explicitly stated that this is his first kiss. And it was under these circumstances.
It's literally someone tricking him to make someone else who sucks shit jealous, and kind of like assaulty and weird, and like not, I mean, the vibes were so off and not hot and romantic, and he feels guilty and bad about it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is your first kiss? Whew.
Yeah. Imagine if your first kiss was with somebody that was doing it just to make someone else jealous. And also, Don Knotts is watching you through a goddamn window the entire time.
Also, you're in your like 40s and you just drove this woman to the dentist as foreplay. Like, please, Christ, I am praying for you. Do you think he died a virgin? Do you think Gomer Pyle died a virgin? Because I do. I mean, I know he was in the army a lot, but I think he died a virgin.
But he was in the army, but like...
I would say 100% the army is a variable.
I mean, I don't think there were any women that appeared on at any point in.
You can lose your virginity to not a woman. I don't think he's canonically gay, though. I think he is canonically straight. So, do I think that happened? No, but I think he died a virgin.
Yeah, I think
potentially, yeah.
There's a strong chance.
God, let's figure it out, right? I think we've also thought that Aunt B died. Canonically, Aunt B dies a virgin. The Breaking Mayberry headcanon of Aunt B fucks all the time.
Yeah.
Like,
basically fucks traveling salesmen all the time.
I feel like she is definitely fucking all the time. Like, if I actually had to, like, rearrange my priorities, it would be fuck Aunt B first and foremost. Like, that woman is slapping puss around that town. Like, she is just giving it out, and I know it, and I love her for that. Like, you go into a bar and you see her there. You're like, Aunt B's here. Someone's getting fucked tonight. Like, okay.
And she knows what she's doing.
That's no, 100%.
Yeah,
she's like whipping you around. You're like screaming. You're like, I didn't know sex could be like that. You're like, holy shit.
Yes.
Like, that changes you and it doesn't change her at all, which is the scary part. You come out and you're like, I'm in love. And she's like, bitch, it's a Wednesday.
Ariana Grande's Thank You Next is playing in the background. Like,
yeah, no, she does not care. Does not care. Yeah. She's like the Weekend for that town. Like, the singer, not the days of the week. Like, she is just like,
both, really.
She's like Doja Cat for that town. Like, she is just everything nonstop all the time, in my mind. I wish she would have been in this episode so I could talk more about her sex life.
She mostly fucks drifters and traveling salesmen, so she has got to be on, like, the tourism map for the state, where they're like, listen, if you are in that area, you have to hit up Aunt B.
She has her own hobo symbol.
Yeah.
Like, yes. You know, in like the guidebooks where they'd be like, here's like a point of interest, you know, that's her. That's like her house.
Opie comes home and is just like, why are there drawings of little footballs on our mail post?
Everyone's like, that's not what you think it is, dude. Like, nope. She's
Sophia,
wild.
Are you sure you've never listened to our show before?
No, I just feel like you guys are picking up on what this town's putting out there.
Thank God. This feels very validating and vindicating. Yeah.
I just feel like you understood. I think the thing is, some people can't read what's happening in terms of like romantic and horny subtext. And I think if you're able to, you see a lot of what's going on in Mayberry. You're like, oh.
Well, I don't mean to brag, but Dan and I have had sex.
Well,
with other people, not with each other.
That puts you ahead of Gomer Pyle.
Yeah. Night's still young. So, but the thing that I haven't been able to, like, I've been thinking about recently is, like, strictly within the canon of this show, like, taking it completely on face value and what it intends for me to read it as. Do these people fuck? Like,
no.
Ken dolls. Ken dolls all the way down.
Just never, not even heavy petting.
I think Opie was like Immaculate Conception.
Yeah.
Like,
we've never even seen a picture of Andy's wife. He's never mentioned his wife.
So, I mean,
he may have just wandered out of the woods and just raised this boy. Like,
I feel like there's like an alt version of this that would have been so much cooler, where it's like he knocked up a woman and because he was like a fuck boy in his past, and she left him on the stoop, like she left Opie on the stoop and was like, here's your baby, and he has to like turn his life around as like kind of a grizzled cop in like a new town with a son. That's like a better show.
It works so well with our headcanon that he was also a con man. Like, he was a con man who had to settle down. Yeah.
I feel like it would work. I don't see him as a dad, though. Like, that's not his real son. And I think we all need to say it.
Yeah.
He barely acknowledges that, oh my God, is Opie literally a redheaded stepchild? Like,
he is. No, he is. Like, that is not. Or maybe he has like a brother who had a kid and his brother died and the parents died or something and like left him this kid, like a little bit of a Raising Helen situation. If you remember the Kate Hudson movie,
sure.
I'm sure you do. I feel like, I mean, it's a beautiful Joan Cusack vehicle.
I'm up on my Hudsons and my Cusacks. Like,
thank you. Joan Cusack has never gotten a starring role in a film, and it's something that I just feel so angry about all the time.
That can't be right. What?
It's true.
No, dude, go check out that IMDb.
Check out her IMDb. It's like how Bruce Springsteen's never had a #1 hit. How? We don't know. No one knows. No one knows.
That's
I know exactly. It's because
earth-shattering.
There are a million character actors and only a handful of character actresses, and that's the role she fills. It's like Cusack and Margot Martindale. Like,
I just feel like she should have gotten at least one starring role in even like a tiny movie. Like, I don't need it to be like Avatar. I mean, I do want her to star in Avatar, but
you think that like with the resurgence of Catherine Hahn, Cusack would slide in there and just be like, "Hey, me too now." You know?
But like, I mean, I guess I also see it like Lisa Kudrow, but like, where's like her big like vehicle? Where's the like thing that Joan Cusack wants to make? You know?
I feel like Somebody
Family
should have
Values
just gone
spin-off.
like, well, everybody fucking likes her. Let's just give her the plot is she's on a boat and antics ensue.
I would love that. Are you kidding? Do you know how much money
budget.
I'd spend at the theater to see
Yeah.
Joan Cusack on a boat and antics ensue?
I want to see a movie with like Catherine Hahn, Joan Cusack, and Judy Greer, and they're like all hanging out together at breakfast tables, and every once in a while, like Katherine Heigl or Kate Hudson runs in, and they're like, "Oh, honey, let me solve your problems." I want to see what happens to the best friend in the romantic comedy when the lead is off screen. I want to have a movie with all these best friend characters, just like what do they do when they're not?
I feel like that's like
to...
a parody film, like They Came Together, waiting to happen.
Yeah, exactly. All right, cool. We're writing this. We're writing this right after we write. Like,
there's lots to write now. We have tons to do.
We've got
gritty
this,
HBO Andy Griffith reboot.
Yes. Yeah. I can't wait for the grit. Like what did they just reboot on HBO that was like
Perry Mason.
Perry Mason.
Perry Mason.
I feel like they could do that, but with this show.
Except new Perry Mason is apparently very good. Old Perry Mason is also good. Like
it is also good. Yes.
Or the bad version of what we just described, Bel Air.
That
was such a weird thing. Who was asking for a reboot of that? No one.
Will himself.
Yeah.
Folks. Michael Shannon is Andy Griffith.
Oh my God. You know what? You know what they need as... He does look like him. That's kind of creepy.
And you fucking bring in Pete Davidson. Just bring in Davidson. Great. There you go.
It works. It's already cast.
Michael Shannon and Pete Davidson. HBO, get on the fucking horn. We've got this.
Or just let's like gender swap it and do like Andy with an I Griffith show and just completely gender swap everything.
Okay, all right.
The problem is there's
starring Joan Cusack.
Yes. And she has a kid, but no one ever explains it. She has no sexual chemistry with anyone. And she has like a fuckboy best friend. It's already written. Here we go.
I like that. It's going to be real hard for Joan Cusack to play no sexual chemistry.
I think that's true. She has sexual chemistry with everyone.
Sexual firebrand.
Yeah.
Again, Addams Family Values.
I actually think I think Catherine Hahn would be a good Barney. She'd be great.
No, that's the thing. She's too likable.
That's true.
She'd be great at it. And Judy Greer could play Gomer. I can see it all. Just put the pieces right in there. And I mean, you have to modernize it. It's not going to be these storylines.
Sure.
No, I'm sorry. Catherine Hahn's the Gomer. Catherine Hahn has to be the Gomer. Like her innate likability carries over there perfectly.
That's fair.
Hang on a second. I have a question. In like male-dominated sitcoms or male-dominated things, the humor always comes from the dumb one. But I feel like the way that translates, and Dan, as the Golden Girls expert here, you could probably weigh in. I feel like the way that translates is in a female-driven sitcom or show, that dumb one always becomes the slutty one. Of course, Golden Girls had a slutty one and a dumb one.
Yeah.
I feel like there's also kind of sometimes the mean one for women's stuff, or like the drunk one, or like other like. I feel like the mean one is kind of the thing that provides humor.
What's going on here is now I'm thinking about Catherine Hahn as slutty Gomer Pyle. She's still the mechanic. She's still got the. I need. We are so in the weeds
on this, but let's keep going.
I need some time alone to think about this.
Just watch Bad Moms. She's great in it, and she's basically slutty Gomer Pyle. So
did we just invent Bad Moms? Did we just reverse engineer the movie Bad Moms?
This is how they invented it.
Yeah, I think that's what we did. Damn it.
Fuck, Catherine Hahn is hot. All right, back to the show.
Where the fuck are we? Okay, so...
this is probably the most off the rails we've ever gotten. I love this.
I told you I would get you off the rails. When you said that I was going to have to be doing more talking, I told you that wasn't going to be a problem. I always go off the rails.
I feel like we should just kind of like summarize what happens. We're not going scene by scene anymore.
Yeah. Okay, so the big thing that happens is Thelma Lou is using Barney to make all the way around. Is using Gomer to make Barney jealous. And Andy does a Uno reverse card on her and just goes, well, you're actually using this guy as a human plaything to make another person jealous. What's up? This is a thinking, feeling human being with an interior life.
No, he's not. No, he doesn't. No.
He does. I mean, it's bullshit, but that's kind of she kind of gets
She
flipped.
does get the blame for this whole situation.
Yeah.
She gets blamed for everything.
He flips the whole game on her.
Which is so weird because Gomer is fucking with her specifically because he thinks that that's like instructions that he got. It isn't, but like he thinks that. So Gomer's fucking with her.
He thinks he's been like MK Ultra activated. Yeah.
Yeah, and like that he's doing his best. Like he's doing what he thinks is correct and moral. Like he's not trying to like be a fucker, but he is a fucker. So he's using her and being a piece of shit. Then Andy is using her and being a piece of shit by like orchestrating all of this. And then of course there's Barney, who is just a piece of shit, and like their entire relationship is that. He can't even imagine a life where she can be in every room of the house. Like he literally can't imagine her being allowed in all of the rooms of their home if they ever get married. That's how much of a piece of shit he is. So all three of these men are like, not like, I don't want to use the word gaslighting because it's so overused, but they're like manipulating and controlling and fucking with this woman's life. And she keeps having pieces of it unveiled. And instead of the end being like, wow, that was so messed up and like weird, they're all mad at her for playing into the exact same thing that they just did. And she's just like playing along. And then they all get mad at her. And they're all like, why would you do that? I was like, bitch, what? I'll kill you. I'll kill all of you.
She apologizes at the end.
Yes.
Like she gets fully bad guyed. Like it is.
And the one thing she says, she's like so apologetic. She's like, the only thing I want to say is like, it really, like, it was like almost the only moment of emotional intelligence in this whole thing, where she was like, I didn't like it when you said that I was in your hip pocket. Like that was hurtful. Like she doesn't use those words, but like, that's the essential message that she has is the one thing that really bothered me is you thought that you had me in your hip pocket, which bothered me. And then the goddamn episode ends with him being like, she's in my hip pocket. And I was like, oh my God, the ways in which I would ruin this man's life. I would ruin it.
Here is the depths of it, where she doesn't even say, don't think that you have me in your hip pocket. She just says, don't say it out loud. Because, like, she's like, you can think anything you want about this. Just don't say it out loud because it hurts my feelings.
I've never met a woman who needed feminism more. Like, I'm like, girlfriend, I mean, that's not true, but like, girl, we need you to get on board. Sorry to go back a little bit, 20 years, but like, we need you to find out about girl power feminism of the early 2000s. Like, I need you to hear the Spice Girls one time, and that will change everything for you. Like, Thelma Lou, it will unlock the world. Let
me do this. I'm just going to run through a quick summary of the events for the rest of the episode, and then we can just go off. Gomer goes to Thelma Lou's house, fully intending to fuck with her, and just being and says that he's going to pretend that he's catching feelings, so that she'll break off the deal and she'll go back to Barney. She'll get scared. He calls Andy from Thelma Lou's house and says, this is what I'm gonna do. Then Thelma Lou hears this and says, oh, okay, is that what we're doing? And she plays her reverse card. And when Gomer says, do you want to be my steady girlfriend? She's like, hell yeah, I love you, Gomer. Not even that. She kisses Gomer, as we described before. Gomer gets it in his head, oh no, we've kissed, and that means I have to marry you, even though I have no interest in doing that. So now Gomer is upset. He believes that he has to or marry Thelma Lou. Barney is upset because he saw them kissing through the window, and he wants to fight Gomer, a fight he would absolutely lose. And I want him to fight Gomer for that reason. Andy drags everyone back to Thelma Lou's and says, hey, Thelma Lou, maybe you can take the kiss back from Gomer. And she's like, yeah, Gomer, you stupid simpleton, I'm taking my kiss back, and then kisses him again. And he goes, oh, I have no concept of anything, so that if I didn't know any better, I'd think that was another kiss. Okay, so we don't have to get married anymore. Then he drags in Barney.
As we break it down, this might be a felony.
Yeah.
Everyone's so problematic in this town.
Yeah. And then they do the thing that Dan and Sophia just talked about, in which she says, please don't say you've got me in your hip pocket. Great. Stinger is Barney doing the exact fucking thing that she just said not to do. Jesus Christ, dump this man. Dump this man and move away.
Hit him with your car. Like, I don't even need a dump. Like, just come on. This is I also, like, all of our grandpas thought that was, like, so cool. Like, everyone that, like, is in that generation saw that episode, and the end of it, they were like, Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, like, the thing that's like kind of maddening about is all the terrible stuff that he does to Thelma Lou or involving Thelma Lou in this episode so easily just transplants onto a 22-year-old dude in now. Like, getting mad that your girlfriend paid for another guy's lunch, when your girlfriend stands you up on a date, peering into her fucking windows, threatening to fight a guy that she's hanging out with. Just
all of it is so insane. And it's so, like you said, the word unhealthy is like the most perfect. Like, I don't think that this relationship is satisfactory for either one of them. I'm like, this is like not great for either of you. And I'm sorry that you're in your 40s, but like, talk to Aunt B who's in Pound Town and figure it out, man. Like,
yeah.
Folks, mark it down on your bingo card, your Breaking Mayberry bingo card. Marty once again screams about how old these people are. But take this script and transplant it into, I don't know, let's say 2006, and make the cast of Degrassi do it. Or
that's fine. If you're like on Laguna Beach and this happens, that's fine.
Sure, whatever. Add a lot more drugs and you can make an episode of a B plot in Euphoria, I guess. This is okay if it is children.
Or if it's like really farcical and over the top and like someone's disguising themselves as a different gender and then it's Shakespeare. But like at this level of like earnestness, but also like not really a joke. I mean, I guess that's also earnestness, but just like this level of earnestness and lack of irony is so bizarre to find this funny. It's so bizarre.
I'm of the belief that a bunch of writers in Los Angeles and London were like, yeah, let's make fun of these country bumpkins. This is how much their life sucks. They're all miserable. They got nothing to do but stare at a furniture store window. And that's what they wrote it, like, just to, like, making fun of them. And then it aired, and then rural America was like, that's what we want. That's exactly what we should be. And to this day are taking it as a guiding light.
It's so bizarre.
The thing is, they have to think that the events of this episode are conceptually funny because there's no goddamn jokes in here.
There's not a single joke. Did you laugh at any point?
I can't think of a single like roll snare drum like fucking pun or anything. If there were any,
well, there was the fat line, and we don't know what that was intended to be, and so. No, honestly, the person that wrote this, or the people that wrote this, like, that is, I can't imagine calling that a comedy. To do so is so bold.
Yeah.
So brave. Like,
the thing I yell a lot is everybody went home at 5. Like, nobody did a second pass of this script. They wrote it one sitting and then turned it the fuck in.
I actually admire that, and I think that's cool, and I wish they had more of that fuck it energy in there instead of like do. How
great must it have been to be a writer in the 60s?
Oh my god.
Crap shit like this out.
And you were smoking indoors and like
you were on highballs the entire time.
Literally, you were like fucking a woman that wasn't your wife right after work and then going home to your wife, and like your whole mindset was like, I hate women and like I'm just gonna write about it, but in this way that's like sweet to middle America because they're so racist.
Yeah.
It was a fucking breeze for those people.
You write, they're like, we're filming in 20 minutes. Do you have anything? You write an argument you had with your wife that morning on a piece of paper, crumple it up, throw it at an intern's head, and they have to just go make something of it.
Also, everyone for years afterward is like, that was the golden age of television. These people wrote the most brilliant episodes. This is amazing. And meanwhile, you got your job because you were next to the male guy at Universal and he needed someone who was like 5'2" or something, and it was you. Like, It's insane how these people got their jobs.
Just a bunch of dudes with William H. Macy bodies and Don Draper attitudes, man.
Wow. That's the title of the book that you guys write on this fucking show. Don Draper. William H. Macy in the body. Don Draper in the mind.
That's at least the title of this episode. All right. Hell yeah.
You exclusively got jobs by having moxie.
It's like they all brought their alcoholism to the script and I could see it. I was like, no one in this show was explicitly alcoholic, but everyone in this show is alcoholic.
You can see the points where they spilled vodka on the script. Like, there's a splash of martini.
Every single person's behavior in this show was the behavior of an alcoholic, with the exception of Gomer Pyle, who's the behavior of a drunk. And that was like, they literally just wrote alcoholism into characters.
Which is very funny because part of the, like, drama of this show is that you're not allowed to drink in Mayberry. Like, literally the only crime we ever have Barney and Andy solve is moonshining, and there is one character whose whole thing is he's a drunk. He's a raging alcoholic. Like,
that's the fucking Rosetta Stone. Is all of these plots make so much more sense if you just imagine that everybody is hammered.
Oh my god. No. We were all talking about how there are no stakes earlier. In the mind of an alcoholic, the highest stakes you could ever possibly have is a dry county where you can't drink. In their mind, they have created the highest drama.
When Lena Dunham wrote Girl, she said that the 4 main characters were like, she took her, like, 4 parts of her personality that she really didn't like and made 4 characters based on them. And I, like, that's a great idea. Good for you. Like, whatever. Lena Dunham's a disaster.
Then it kind of turned out that that is her entire personality, or those 4
Totally.
parts.
Like, it's like, that was its own thing. Like, that's a separate thing. But, like, a great idea for creating 4 characters is to be like, what 4 parts of myself do I not like? And then heighten them. I feel like this show was an alcoholic being like, what are different problems I've ever had and how have I ever solved them? And, like, what 4 different alcoholics do I know? And they, like, made, like, the stoic one who gets, like, more withdrawn, and it's Andy, and he's like, whatever. And then you made, like, the mean Barney drunk, and then you made, like, happy Gomer drunk, and then person who's, like, always in bad situations, Thelma. Like, I feel like there was just, like, all these, like, parts of alcoholism that each character displayed within this episode and within this town.
That's so much better than the, like, Gilligan's Island 7 Deadly Sins thing. That's such a better headcanon there. I like that.
I love Gilligan's Island. Now, there's a show where people wanted to fuck.
Yeah.
That's like the antithesis of this show. They have, like, a sweet dumb guy at the helm, and everyone wants to fuck.
Like, which was airing around the same time, right? Like,
yeah.
But Bob Denver, Gilligan's been on this show before. Yeah, Gilligan's Island starts airing in 1964. So, yeah.
Was Andy Griffith's show just basically like the cold shower you took after watching Gilligan's Island?
I gotta be honest, like you could be horny on TV. Like, it's not like it was different on a different time. You could do that.
No, you could be horny on TV. This show refused to go there, which is so weird.
Refused to. Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Ratings. Okay, so Sophia, when we do the ratings for these episodes, we rate it on 2 scales, and I can't wait to hear yours. First up is the first one. So this is 1 to 10, 10 being the highest. First is the Andy meter. The Andy meter is how much did you enjoy this as a half hour of television? Would you watch this again? Like, was this a quality entertainment product? That's the Andy meter. Then there's the Barney meter. Again, scale of 1 to 10, which is how much psychic damage did this episode do on America? Essentially.
Oh, okay, America.
Or, I mean, culture, pop, whatever you want to.
No, I thought it might be cold, like damage on me, and I was like, I don't feel like I can get damaged at this point. But on when it was airing, so I'll do the Andy scale first. Andy scale, or is it my turn? Is everyone going?
Yeah,
okay, we'll go after you. Yeah.
How much did you enjoy this as a piece of media?
I feel like I'm gonna give it a 3 because of
generous.
It's something I'd never seen before. Like, I've seen other episodes of it, but I had never seen this episode. So I guess on just like a pure, like, okay, I'm here and I've never done this thing before, I'll give it that. But also, I'm going to give it points because it was 25 minutes of my time. And when something's longer than 25 minutes, I don't want to be involved in it. If movies could be 25 minutes, I would be thrilled.
You just gave it a bonus point for having an average sitcom runtime?
Yes, I did.
All right. I don't question our guest methodology. So.
I'm just saying, like, there's something, every time I watch a comedy and it's done at half an hour, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, that's true.
Like, it doesn't have like a cliffhanger for the next episode of the comedy.
Yeah, we were done. Yeah. We were in and out in 25 minutes. I was like, okay, I understood what happened. These people are little sicko fuckos, but I get it.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely get really excited when I see runtimes on like HBO Max or whatever. Like, everyone was like, you got to go watch Our Flag Means Death. And I was like, I don't want to watch this thing. Because anytime someone tells me to watch something, I fold my arms and go, no. But then I saw that every episode was 27 minutes long. And I was like, I can do that.
Exactly. And like, I think you should leave. The episodes are 16 minutes. You tell me I don't have 16 minutes to waste? I have 16 minutes. I always have 16 minutes. So this was nice. So I'll give it a 3. And I do think that's generous of me. I do think it's generous, but I like being generous. And for the Barney scale of cosmic horror, I'm going to give it like a 9. We didn't see a lynching, but I think that they could have worked it into a script because they probably wanted to. I think the show was like incredibly sexist, incredibly racist, even though it didn't say that ever. I could just feel it. I could feel that in my bones. And I feel like it upheld everything wrong with so much. I feel like so many abusive marriages continued because of this episode. And I don't think it should be put on them. Normally I would be like, oh, it's just a TV show. But you have to remember that like 3 out of 4 people were watching this show every night. So
yes.
You keep doing our work for us. Yeah, the thing like we always explain to people is like, imagine a kid watching this show and like going like, all right, what I just watched is normal. And then growing up into an adult and becoming a baby boomer and like, you know, ravaging the fucking world.
So Sophia, how direct of a line can you trace from this to any bad relationship you've ever had or written about or, you know?
I think it was
how
like
many
a
degrees of
I
separation?
think it's like I think this is like the turning point in the modernization of I mean, this is like a tale as old as time of men not wanting commitment. Like the first line of Pride and Prejudice is like a joke about that, you know, like
right.
a man and one of a wife. So I think this was like a modernization of this idea and like the beginning of this like new era of men that treat women like shit, but it's modern and cool and like fine and not like you're not a gentleman for it. It was like you're awesome for it. And it's like the beginning, it's like the taking of it from like literally from the like Jane Austen and Victorian and all those eras and ushering it into the 20th century. So I think there's a lot to blame for this TV show and others of the time that did the same shit. So I'll say I'll give it a lot of blame. I don't mind blaming the Andy Griffith Show.
I feel like within the timeline, this is sort of like kind of about because the first conversation they have, Thelma Lou is like, "Oh, I'm not really in a rush to get married either. I'm kind of cool not getting married right away." And like the way I kind of read it is like, "All right, so this is a new thing where women aren't begging to get married all the time. How do you still control women that aren't married to you?" Kind of like,
and how do you have your cake and eat it too?
Yeah.
I was getting a big like Gone Girl, like cool girl speech vibe off that. Like, is she really okay with putting off the marriage?
No, I agree, but she had to be cool with it because that's like the role that's being asked of her is to be cool with it. And so she is being cool with it. So then you still like there was a lot that she didn't get to say because God forbid a woman have anything happen and not it be an apology.
It's very weird. Like this is a Thelma Lou episode, I guess, but she's also like doesn't really have a lot. She actually has more agency and more driving of the plot than most women on this show do.
And then she had to apologize for it.
Yeah. She had to apologize for being the driving factor of the plot.
All of her primary decisions as a character happened either off screen or very far away. Like
at the dentist.
At the dentist or over there in a movie
theater.
I
hope she fucked the dentist. I hope she went to the dentist and was like, I'm getting laid today.
Or described or
We've
was
all
described
fucked
by
a dentist.
We all.
Yeah.
There but for the grace of God go I, Thelma Lou.
I mean
he who hasn't had angry revenge sex with a dentist cast the first stone.
Exactly.
I mean, they got the good stuff too, right? Like
yeah.
Who needs poppers when you've got nitrous?
Yes.
Andy Meter, because I've seen all of these episodes and they're all 25 minutes long, that really doesn't impress, like Shania Twain, that don't impress me much. So I'm going to give this a 2. Like,
what's the highest an episode's ever gotten?
10. We've given 10s.
There have been some that have actually been awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
okay.
Yeah, like we're not total haters on this.
Okay.
Like,
It's less than 5, pretty comfortably.
Okay, that's fine. I just thought maybe like the highest was like 4. Okay.
No.
Then
No.
Okay.
This would be a very boring show if it was just us hating every single episode.
To be clear, a 10 on this scale is like a medium Dick Van Dyke episode. Like,
oh, sure. I'm not. Yeah. I don't think you are like appreciating this in the same way you appreciate like, oh wow, I loved the movie Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Like I didn't think it was like that or something. Okay, so that's your Andy scale. Okay.
Yeah, so we have given out 10, but on this 2. This episode is a chore to watch. I sat there just folding my arms just because like at Gomer, I feel like those 2 points are entirely Jim Neighbors being Gomer Pyle. I've come to love the man, but man, it sucks. It has my biggest pet peeve, which is junior high relationship work coming out of grown ass adults. I hate that shit so much. And so Barney Meter, it would have only been like a 7, but the fact that the fucking episode ends on like Barney doing the thing that he was just exclusively asked not to do. The one thing, the fact that it ends on that, and then everyone's just like, okay, and we're not supposed to see Barney as the bad guy here,
as like an ain't I a stinker thing.
Yeah,
like...
exactly. So yeah, that's a straight up 9 for me, because again, it's just like, all right, okay, you've established what is permissible, and it is this, like, because again, Barney at no point ever gets comeuppance. In fact, people go out of their way to make sure Barney's feelings don't get hurt. So
I'm gonna fight him.
It's a 9 for me.
I'm actually gonna go high on the Andy meter and give it a 4, just because we've had a really rough stretch lately, and this didn't cause me physical pain. The ones we watched last week, I almost fell asleep on a train watching them. Yeah, it's fine. It was I didn't want to claw my own eyes out watching it. And Barney meter, I think I'm gonna put it at like a 9, just because like it's done. You can draw such an easy line between things that happen in this show and real world damage. Like
you also have to put it at a 9, because after Sophia and I went, you would look like such a dick if you didn't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's like hard to like legit just blame. It's not only the Andy Griffith Show fault. Like,
sure,
misogyny
it can't
isn't
be.
only
It
from the
can't
Andy
be.
Griffith Show, but maybe it is.
It would be pretty awesome if we were the people that cracked it.
But what this podcast supposes is,
what if it were?
Yeah. You can't prove, well, you probably can't prove it, but you can't.
If you think about it too hard, you'll figure it out that that's not where it's from. But if I could just say the patriarchy originated with the Andy Griffith Show, I'm fine with that.
I mean,
it would make things
good.
a lot easier.
Easier.
It's nice to have like one point to point at. Yeah, sure, right there.
Yeah. We just got to show up with torches and pitchforks at one person's house, and we're golden.
At the very least, it didn't help the cause.
No, it did not. This show did not help at all.
Yeah.
With anything.
This is definitely an episode where if a person watched it and said, I am going to base my behavior as a person off of what I just watched, that's a psychopath.
Okay, so Sophia, thank you again for being on the show. Do you want to plug your stuff one more time?
Sure.
Tell people where they can find you, buy your stuff, give you money, etc., etc.
You can give me money in literally any way. You can reach out to me. I will tell you how to give me money, but actually just give it to like mutual aid funds and not me. But you can find me on Twitter at @1follower_no_dad, the number 1. And you can find me at onefollower_no_dad.com. You can buy my book, Well, This Is Exhausting, out in paperback this June, coming up very soon. So you can find me at GQ, Bustle, anywhere else where I'm writing about sex or Fleetwood Mac or Shrek or something in those categories.
Ah, yes. The 4 elements of life.
Truly. I'm always pitching stuff about all of those things, and my editors are always like, no, absolutely not. But that's fine. One day they'll crack.
All right. As always, you can get at us on the internet. Email us some nice words of encouragement at breakingmayberry@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are at breakmayberry because we can't get those INGs in there. Sad letter requirements. I am on Twitter at SCHNEID Remarks. That's Schneid Remarks. Dan doesn't have a Twitter, and he'll tell you all about not having a Twitter if you so much as blink at him.
Find me on Discord, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. He's sending up smoke signals about how he's not on Twitter. Semaphore. He's waving flags. Be sure to support us with your money dollars at patreon.com/breakingmayberry to get access to the extended edition of this episode and many more with all of the good stuff that I'm definitely cutting out. That about wraps it up for us. Our music was written by Max Ludwig, who is on Twitch as Sleep Talkie. Maynard J. Barry, the official mascot of Breaking Mayberry, was created, drawn, and beamed into your homes by @NotYourGuts. And I think that about wraps it up for us. Sophia, once again, thank you for being on. We'll see you all down at the fishing hole.
Do